So in this opportunity to chat with you for just a moment, I wanted to try to share with you a few thoughts on Excel projects. We don't want the course to be a course about Excel. We understand that we're probably close to that tipping edge with the number of projects. But the good news is that this is extremely useful software, as you already know, for quantitative literacy. And even if they go elsewhere and they choose not to use Excel in their future, the reality is there's great mathematics that they can be learning along the way. So it's just a vehicle, but it's also a very powerful tool. And so I wanted to mention our templates to begin with. We've reduced everything down to the essentials. And in the first financial template there, what you're going to see is the February budget with a key in the instructor's file, the instructor's key that will have things completed, likewise for the March. But we've also included a blank budget here called My Budget that might be your opportunity to give them some motivation to actually try this out. I think once they've gone through the case study, they've learned how to use the daily expense record, they may be interested. We see it on campus all the time that many students, for the first time in their lives, they're actually trying to quantify their expenditures and live by a budget, and it offers a great experience for them. You'll find that one of the rewards of Teaching Math 108 will be reading the reflection paragraphs, and that's especially true with this particular type of a project. There's also an advanced budget that's a little more detailed as far as trying to make it work with online banking. I wouldn't recommend it unless it's a very motivated student that wants to work through those functions and think about it carefully. And then just a few more things that are off to the side here. There's an annual summary where they can keep track of their expenses for an entire year, and then there's this notion of long-term savings if they have a money market CD or something that's a little more long-term. But most of the time they'll be spending their first experience with Excel right here inside of the February budget and the March budget with the case study scenario. So I'm going to close that one up. The second one that will be helpful for us is this, here it is, the second financial template. So this one you'll recognize, I suspect, because you've had the general savings plan before. This is what the template looks like for the student. This is what it would look like for you. I just wanted to call your attention to the fact that the Ponder Proof questions that will be an assessment within iLearn, you'll be able to grade those rather quickly by looking at these formulas right here. So you would simply take their answers and type, or their inputs rather, that they have chosen, place those into these boxes and verify their numbers. The same would be true with the vehicle loan. This is the template, but when they complete it, they'll have their formulas looking good, and off to the side, and your key will be the solutions for the Ponder Proof questions. Home loan works pretty much the same way. You'll recognize that from your previous experience with home loan project. And then we've got some keys over here that'll hopefully help your grading, speed up your grading in a big time way. And then finally, the family budget is going to look a little different to you. We're thinking what would be helpful is to have both the current and the modified budgets side by side this time. I think that's a good move so they can see everything side by side. And then off to the right here, we've got a text box for them to place their proposed changes that they'd like to do for the Andersons' family budget. Hopefully those modifications will help you. In addition to that, we have in green just a variety of things that they won't see perhaps, but are in the key, just some items of interest that you might find interesting as an instructor. But hopefully that's an opportunity to use some tools that will make your grading faster and more organized. I'm going to close that one, and I'll close this second one here that we were talking about. Onto the Charting with Excel template. Here is what we have for you in the Done tabs, a variety of graphs that they're going to potentially put together. And we've asked them to do something a little unusual on this go around. We're asking them to copy and paste their graphs into in a PowerPoint. And so I think you'll enjoy looking at the PowerPoints. You'll want to just verify that their Excel spreadsheet is legitimate, but then probably look at their graphs through their PowerPoint presentation they're going to make for you. This gives them a lot of skills. Learning how to use Word and Excel and PowerPoint in conjunction with each other is not a bad way to go. So I think you'll like charting with Excel. And then the Book of Mormon project is actually an optional one. It comes at the end of the semester when everything's pretty stressful, but it's significant extra credit within the project category of points. And so we've made a lot of enhancements to it. They'll be getting their samples right here. In the blank one, what it's going to look like is these formulas are gone, and so they'll be able to learn about the RAM between concept, and they'll build that. And then of course the Excel document will then look up the random verses for them. Their job will be to go and research each of these verses in terms of the proper noun references. The good news with the Book of Mormon project is that it pretty much can run itself. There's a tab right here where they're going to be typing in the results of the class that they'll get through a discussion board that I'm going to show you in just a moment. There's a cumulative set of results that we've pulled together over the last several semesters. And then there's even census data that we did a couple of years ago. My secretary and I worked pretty hard on this to get the Book of Mormon analyzed literally verse by verse in terms of proper noun references. Likewise, we did the New Testament. And then over here on the side, we have some statistical information for both of those. I've also put together just really briefly here the original 1830 edition in terms of the number of paragraphs in each chapter. And it's referenced just in a PowerPoint, so that's why I did that. Let me take you to the actual Book of Mormon project just to let you know it's there and what to watch for. So I'm going to bounce over here to Firefox, and I've got the opening page right here. Virtually everything they need to be successful in this extra credit activity, this analysis, and I call it a class activity partially because you want to look at what everyone else is doing in terms of the results. But there's a PowerPoint presentation right there that students will be able to take advantage of. There's the original article from the Ensign in a Word document form, the instruction sheets that are pretty important, and then the actual template that's extremely important for them to use as they randomize their sample. And then we have a video tutorial that will walk them through exactly what to do with that template and some supplementary items afterwards. Over here on the side, I've got, let's see if I click the right folder there. I'll get out of there and back into Book of Mormon. There we go. So if I click here on to the discussion board, this is where they'll make a thread to simply report the number of verses. And then after they click on that, in addition to typing in the number of proper noun references they found, I should say, in their 25 verses, we'd also like them to attach a file. And that attachment will be right here at the bottom. Then when they're ready to report the results and do the ponder proof questions for the extra credit, we've asked them here to look over things, make sure they've done their sample, make sure they've reported the results, and make sure that they've attached their spreadsheet and that they've answered the questions regarding the ponder proof questions. When they're ready, they hit start, and it will walk them through how to enter everything in pretty much an essay form. We do ask them one true-false question: did they upload their spreadsheet? And that gets them that 1 point that they need. And then as an adjunct instructor, we just ask that you kind of scan through and make sure that their answers are sensible. So if they don't have time, then no pressure, because it is at the end of the semester. But if they're interested, we think that project, at least in theory, should pretty much run itself, with just a few exceptions. So I'm going to stop right there, and then I want to come back and talk about the idea of grading projects effectively, which is to touch more detail. So I'll be right back with you in a second part to this.